Welcome to another Teachers Talk episode here on Scrolling to Death. This is a super interesting conversation with teacher Ronna Glickman. Let's get right into it. Today I have Ronna Glickman, who is a former middle school family and consumer science teacher for 25 years and also a speaker and consultant on topics related to screens and teens and social media and all those things. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you having me. What an honor. I retired and started socialmediasafety.education. There's another wonderful place out there called Screen Strong, and I've been trained as an ambassador for Screen Strong.
Amazing. Yeah, I've heard great things about that organization as well. So needed.
It is so needed.
Yeah. So you have personally witnessed the effects of smartphones and social media on the mental health of young teens.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that? What are you seeing, how children are being affected? Let's focus on social media specifically, and then we can talk about general smartphones.
Sure. So social media, I'm going to go back just a few years before I retired. I started seeing major changes in students, and they were not good changes. They were changes in personality. A lot of kids were very quiet that would normally be interactive. Not only personality, but a sense of sadness. Like kids are walking around and they didn't seem like they were having much fun in life anymore. And then the discussions about social media were coming about. And in my class, if something came up, I would scrap my lesson and we would talk. And I learned so much from them. I learned what's happening when they are using the social medias, the obvious ones, the comparison, seeing somebody and all their friends at a party and they're not there. I can't even imagine. I mean, some adults can't even handle that. So I want to talk about what happens with the frontal lobe in the brain. And you've had many guests talk about this. And it just can't keep reiterated enough, because their decision making is so low that it's not formed yet in that front part of the brain. So going on and scrolling on a device and scrolling on social media where it is meant to be addictive. They went into gambling places and casinos, and they said, why are these people coming back when they lost thousands of dollars or even hundreds? For me, I wouldn't go back if I lost $5, but that's just me.
Yeah.
They found the algorithms and they put those on their platforms. So the social media was changing the kids. I didn't even know what an airdrop was like 5 years ago. And, we have the science, but I lived it with these kids.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Yeah. So there's a story where a girl, and it's interesting because you're like, no way, that girl wouldn't have done that. She's just bright. She's maybe not the most attractive, because we always think it happens to the pretty girls. But she was a great student. This was in 8th grade. And apparently there was a party and they were filming her without her knowledge, making out with another girl's boyfriend. All right. So in the cafeteria, of course, the phones are supposed to be kept in their lockers. They airdropped this. So anyone that had in the cafeteria of 100 and some kids during lunchtime, this was airdropped. And she didn't want to come to school. That's where you get into the suicidal ideology. Like, how am I going to face my peers? And we're giving these kids the access to this, where the companies are more interested in making money than preserving the mental health. And I do want to talk about the Surgeon General sometime in this conversation, the updates he's doing.
Yeah. Why don't you do that now? So the Surgeon General recently put out an opinion piece in the New York Times. So what did he share?
He shared that the knowledge now with the mental health, I do believe part of it is from the COVID. There's a big part of that, kids missing 2 years of school, but we can't put it all on that. So The Anxious Generation, which is a phenomenal book, highlights this when the phones came out, when social media came out. It took 60 years for them to realize cigarettes were bad. We can't keep using our kids as an experiment. Oh no, they're 35 now. And they're still seeing counselors because they can't leave the room, and they're still playing games, and they're still stuck on social media. So thank goodness the Surgeon General is now wants to put warnings on these sites. And that is great. But just like kids aren't supposed to buy cigarettes, you can get someone to do it. They can sign up with fake accounts. They always change their birth date. And now they want to put the warnings on the social media that this is a danger to your child's mental health and contribute. Some people say, well, it doesn't cause it. I disagree, but it can contribute. There may be somebody that already has pre-existing depression or anxiety, and this just adds to it. With the constant scrolling. And it has to go through Congress, but he would like to have those warnings on there that it can contribute to the mental distress of what kids are going through now.
Yeah. And I think that will be helpful for parents that are in the dark about the harms. I think that is helpful. They might be taken aback and actually look into it, I hope. But I don't know. A lot of kids are signing up without their parents knowing, right? So they're just going to bypass that warning without the parents seeing it. So
yeah. And although not science-based, I can tell you when I go and speak at schools to the students, there can be 900 families, not children, but 900 families. And I get 4 parents. So we can say that they don't want to take the time to learn about this. It keeps their kids busy, but they really need to understand. If you go to Parenting in a Tech World, which is on, I'm old, Facebook. Okay, I'm not that old.
That's
Parenting
a good group.
I love it. And the stories are so sad because they're talking about the negative emotional impact that this is having on their family. The kids are fighting with their parents. The kids are breaking things. I mean, I always like to say this in my talks. When your parents called you for dinner and you were building something, or you were, let's say, playing Monopoly, would you have thrown the board across the room? When you have these violent outbursts, either emotionally, verbally, or physically, something's going on in the brain. And you can't deny that. I don't need science. I've seen it happen with the students.
Yeah. And the science, hopefully, I mean, it's catching up. We also have a lot of studies being funded by the big tech companies and in their firms. And so it's like hard to weed through what's true and what's not. But yeah, I that's why these stories are so important of what you guys are actually seeing in the classrooms. Was your school allowing smartphones in the kids' hands during the school day?
No, but it also wasn't enforced.
Okay.
So if you talk to any of the middle schools, for example, the one I retired from and the one I had previously worked at, I just went to another one because of a retirement. And it said cell phones must be in lockers from, I believe, our first bell was 8:45 a.m. to 3:35. 3 things happen. Number 1, kids can always get a burner phone from someone else. Kids are selling phones. They're always trying to be one step ahead of us. In some cases, they are. Number 2, they put it in their backpack or they put it in their pants pocket. And it's like, guys, I see that square in the front and I see it in the back. It's there.
Yeah.
And sadly, most texts that they receive during the day aren't from other kids. It's from parents.
Yeah.
So I've got a real good one for you for parents to listen to.
Yeah.
So when they set the parental controls, which I appreciate that they do, all the kids have to do is Google how to circumvent that and go around it. I had a student and his father was in technology. He was in the tech field. And he's like, I know everything he's doing and I've got this and everything comes through my phone. Well, what didn't come through his phone was at the 9:00 Eastern time that the phone was set to go off. Sammy's student set it for Central Time. So he got 3 extra hours.
Yep. That is often what kids do with the, okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about iPhones in that case. I am.
Yep.
iPhones parental controls don't work very well and kids can really easily get around them.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to talk about, okay, we can do school issue devices later, but parents, if you need advice, do not have a charging station at night because the kids will go down there, hide their history. They will take the phone. Never, ever let a child charge a phone in their room. The fact that all the alerts that are going off and the kids are coming to school very tired.
Yeah. What was that like? So did you see over the years more kids coming in and being so sleepy, and especially in the morning time?
Especially in the morning time. I will say that our school, middle school, did start what we consider late. At first, the kids would be reading off their devices. So I would sit behind them and read my book because we had reading from 9 to 9:30 or 9 to 9:20, but depending on the school.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get letters from parents. Well, Susie wants to read off her device. And then I had to go through administration, but no, I want kids reading books.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that really happened at the end, but there wasn't a lot you could do about it. They're like, well, I need to read this book off my iPad, a school issued device.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like they retain as much from the school issued, the screen book versus the paper book?
No. Nope. If you look at any of the Screen Strong studies,
Yeah.
and if you look at the anxious generation, there's scientific proof that you retain more when you are reading off of a book. You have fewer interruptions, of course, no ads popping up, no temptation to check something.
Right.
And the reading to writing when you're studying, definitely the retention's better. And I'm not, for example, on Screen Strong, we are not 100% screen free. Absolutely no screens for kids, but use it responsibly. Take a screen into the kitchen and do a recipe with your child.
Yeah. And that's something, so we don't use screens in front of our kids. My husband and I leave them in our bedroom. But when I tried to make a recipe, and we have Alexa downstairs for music, and I was like, maybe I can ask her to walk me through a recipe, so that I don't use my phone and have my phone in the room. But that was a struggle. It was not keeping up. And so that was an exception that I may add on to having the phone for that, but then putting it away. Right.
Yeah. And looking at a YouTube video and learning how to do a load of laundry, even though I taught that in fax phone in my classroom, the kids had to do. These kids are coming in and they've lost life skills. They're losing life skills. They're spending so much time with that. They're scrolling to death, which is such a fantastic name for your podcast, by the way.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I just did see a lot of the stories right away of children actually dying from something to do with their device or a social media experience. While I'm not pointing at that as the sole cause, it definitely has a big hand in all of the depression rates, all the suicide rates, all these things. And in some cases, 100%. I will point right at social media as the cause. In some cases.
I will.
Yeah.
Most of the suicides that kids do are in the evening at nighttime. We don't make great decisions when we're tired, whether you're a child or an adult. So when you're scrolling and seeing things and comparing yourself, for sure, things are not going to be good. It looks terrible. And I know that parents are like, well, everyone else has one. And I understand that's tough. Then get a GAB phone, the GABB phones. And I believe there's a new one out also that only allows talk and text. That's all, no internet access on the phone. And no, it's not a flip phone. They're not going to look like they're using their great grandfather's phone.
Yeah. The new one is the Bark phone, and I am a big fan of the Bark phone. They have an app too. If you decide you need to go with an iPhone or an Android, you can get the Bark app, and it is helpful for monitoring. But the Bark phone, and I think these are newer devices and products that are available to parents. So over time, parents will realize, we need to give our kid a phone that was built for kids, not an adult phone that they're trying to bandage up for like children, but their kids can just find a way around it because it's not built safe. It's not safe from the ground up. They have everything on it. It comes fully loaded, and then they're trying to make it safe on top of it. And it's too easy for the kids to get through it.
It is way too easy. They're getting through their school devices too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the American Academy of Pediatrics and their screen time, we've got kids getting school issued devices in kindergarten. Their brains are growing. We need to enrich them, go outside and play. This is the one that aggravates me the most. When you go through and you walk through schools and you look in the classroom and the kids are just staring at a screen. And when I talk to the kids, and this was the best part, that we had these wonderful conversations, they're like, I don't like my assignments on my screen. I don't like all this screen time. I want to look at the teacher and I want him or her to look at me. They don't like it. And these kids, they are accessing porn on a school issued device. They go home and watch YouTubes on it. They go home and they're watching Netflix on it. And I've often asked schools, why don't you do some data and see how often kids are actually using these for homework?
Great question. Every teacher that I talk to, I ask, and I wonder what you would say. If a kid is working on a school issued device in class, how often are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Like what percentage of time are they working on the school lesson versus something else?
Well, as soon as the head turns, kids will tell me they'll either get out their phone or they can close a screen faster than you can say, shut that screen, X out that screen.
Yeah.
I remember one particular boy, he actually had special needs, but boy, was he amazing on the computer. He was so proud because he would have 32 tabs open at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, how did you do that?
Oh my
So
gosh.
yes, as soon as you turn your back, they're going to open others. You turn back, they're going to minimize or X out because that's how their brains are wired. They're curious. Their brains are not wired to go, oh, I'm going to stick with this subject matter because I'd much rather learn about Abe Lincoln than see what my friends are doing or YouTube.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah, we can't blame them. Of course, they're going to want to be more interested in watching YouTube.
that's how I might too, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But when I speak to administrators and when I speak at schools, I think there's a super easy solution. So, Nikki, you teach reading. I'm not going to say math. I don't do math. You teach reading. I do science. Susie does some social studies. Someone does math. And Nikki, on Mondays, you may use a school issued device unless there's an emergency, unless you absolutely need it for 2 minutes. You can have it another time. Okay. I get it on Tuesdays. Mrs. Susie student gets it on Wednesdays. So these kids don't go into class and have their Chromebooks out all the time. They should not be staring at a screen. And then we wonder why they can't communicate with us. I used to go into the classroom. This is I love the story. When it was reading time, I was pretty close to the 5th grade teachers when they got the devices. And I've always said there should be a program for the parents to listen to and the kids before they get them. So we would go in and we would have to teach them, Nikki, how to communicate. So we gave 3x5 cards. I paired them so they'd be a little bit uncomfortable with boy and girl. We've got to get out of that uncomfortable situation, learn how to deal with it and ask open-ended questions. And we gave them like 5 or 6 minutes, 1 minute, done. So the teacher and I had to model how to communicate.
Wow. I'm hearing that a lot. They don't know how to communicate or socialize because they have an out. They have something the second they feel uncomfortable, they can look at that phone.
Exactly.
And I love the solution of not having them have the school issued device on them all the time. And some schools call that the cart model, where there's just a cart that travels around. And when you need it, when the teacher needs it, they say, go get your device from the cart. But then they have to put it back. So they're not supposed to have it.
Yeah, we used to have a cart.
Yeah, right. And not bring it home either. I don't want it at my house. I don't want to have to manage it.
Yep. I also do one-on-one tutoring, which I've been doing for over 30 years. And I have some students now in almost everything. It's very difficult to study for an exam when you don't have pieces of paper that you're studying from. These kids are now taking their Regents exams or they're taking their final exams. Let's say ELA. This is the one that upsets me the most. When we taught them how to take the test, we would teach them highlight. They'd come into the room with highlighters and pencils, and you would highlight the important parts. You could flip ahead and see the questions and make notations in the back. How do you do that on a computer?
I know. That's why I still will have people send me paper books. Like, I need your book on paper so I can write my notes on it and then access and highlight. And
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So, okay.
And it's all marked up.
Oh yeah, me too. I know. I would assume you feel that learning through technology is not as effective as like face-to-face and hand-to-paper lessons.
I agree. However, there are some certain situations. For example, when I taught home and careers, what I was able to do instead of buying extra food from the budget that was sometimes limited, I would show a video on how to make it. They could take this home and either practice at home or watch it at home. Okay. So the other thing is that I taught them how to sew and we threaded a sewing machine. When you have 28 kids trying to thread a needle and watch you, we had this video and it was just perfect. So I would allow them to take it too. So I would put it on the whiteboard and I would just pause it one step at a time, go back, do the first 3 steps, then add the 4th one. So yes, it's fine, but not all assignments all the time, every day.
Right. Agree.
And not in kindergarten. And you know what? Don't tell me they're not you, but in general, Don't tell me they're not going to know how to do it if we don't let them practice now. Are you kidding me? If you gave a ninth grader a computer the first time, they would probably learn it in an hour or less.
I was told that by my, I think, principal or the kid's teacher. My kids in kindergarten already started using an iPad for class, and I looked at it. Finally, I realized I should look at what's on this. They have Safari internet where they can get onto whatever. I mean, YouTube and adult YouTube, not kids YouTube. Not that kids YouTube is any better, but
No.
and the teacher said they don't know it's there. They don't look at that. And I'm like, okay. And you're looking at all 34 students at all times. Like, we can't. They're going to get to it. They're too young to be getting to that kind of stuff when it comes to harmful content on those.
Oh my goodness. You want to start the addiction young? Go ahead. You know what? Give them that. Now, as a parent, and I get these questions a lot, do I have the option of my student not taking a test on a computer? You sure do.
You get that question. Okay. I stopped asking that of teachers because they were like, oh no, never.
Okay. What would happen if the internet was down, Tommy teacher?
Yeah.
What would you do? What did you do 20 years ago, if you're even that old, when there were no Chromebooks and there were no iPads?
Okay.
How did you do it? Same with assignments. You know what? I don't want my child doing this on a Chromebook. I want the paper copy. Okay. They don't even have books anymore.
Okay, so parents can ask that question, and I did. I asked in fourth grade when our students at our school are supposed to take their school-issued iPads home with them for homework. I said, I don't want the iPad in my house because we don't do individual devices for our children, and so I would like paper copies, and I was told that my child would be behind and that likely the teacher would not allow that.
Okay. Considering I'm a little older than you, I would say, well, how is that evidence-based? Where's the evidence that my child's going to be behind? Actually, the evidence is, Tommy teacher, the evidence is 100% opposite, that my child, Susie student, will do better. And you're telling me you can't cut, copy, and paste and print?
I know.
Really?
Yeah, like, yes. And get together with other parents too. If like you have even exactly 3 or 5 parents, right, that all believe they don't want that in their home.
Nope.
And I think we're coming around with all of these major books getting national headlines and all these things, this new research and these new Surgeon General warnings and all these things. So I think parents, you'll find more parents than you think that feel this way.
Correct. Especially when your child says everyone else has one, everyone else has a phone, everyone else, you know what? Not everyone else does. And you may have to look a little harder to find a playmate, or you may be, have to be cautious who your child's going to be with. The average age these kids are seeing porn now is 10.
I know. It's so sad.
So scary.
And it's not Playboy picture porn. It's
no.
hardcore.
It
really
is
inappropriate.
Well, we like to say it's screen strong. You don't have to look for porn. It'll find you. Did you know? I've got a test question for you because I'm a teacher.
Okay.
Put you on the spot. I'll make it fun.
We'll see.
What is the number one place that predators go and pick up? I'll give you a huge clue. Little girls. It is not Instagram, Snapchat, or any of those. You'll never guess. Guess.
Is it either Discord or WhatsApp?
You ready?
Yeah.
Pinterest.
Okay. Yeah. Pinterest has been coming up a lot lately.
It has been coming up a lot. Do you want me to explain why?
Yeah.
So I don't have a daughter. My pretend daughter is 5 years old, and she's super crafty and totally into fashion. So she's putting her pins up, and she's got cute little pictures of her in her tutu because she loves ballet and she loves her artwork. And all someone has to do is say, hey, I'm Ronna and I live in, this is where I was born, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and you live in Buffalo, but I love your pins. Can we be friends on Pinterest? Now, the brain has not been fully developed. I am 8 years old, 9 years old, and someone's interested in my stuff. All you have to do, these kids want that attention and recognition. Yeah. And you should see what some kids are posting on Pinterest.
Oh, God. Okay.
I know.
There's no safe spaces anymore. Well, and it's a lot about that they are not required to be safe for our kids. They're not required to keep that type of content away from our kids.
Right. But mom and dads, that's where you come in.
Yeah.
If a parent says to me that my child, I just read this on Parenting in Tech World, she's asking, not out of ignorance, and parents, this is not a blame thing, and it's not out of ignorance. You don't know what you don't know. And she's asking, my 12-year-old doesn't want me looking at what she's doing on the phone. Do I still have the right to do it? She told me it's an invasion of her privacy. Not only do you have the right, you have the obligation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No more than you would set your 12-year-old out in public or send them out to the mall and say, make sure you talk to only strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we doing? You're not safe in your home. Get your IP address in 2 seconds. It's easy.
Yeah. I mean, your kid's bedroom is more dangerous than them walking around town these days
Right.
with what
Right.
who can get access to them through their devices.
And when they're speaking of bedrooms, when they're doing their TikToks, you've got maybe things on the wall that say, Ronna's award for this or that, or perfect attendance
School
award.
name. Yeah.
School name. Absolutely. I'm wearing the shirt from my school. I'm doing a TikTok in front of my house. There's my house number at 13 or 8 or 9 or 10, whatever. You don't have the knowledge. Oh, I'm fine. No one's going to find me.
I think the approach for parents of you're not gifting, like we can't give our kids phones for Christmas anymore. Like that's not theirs. It's your device that they are allowed to use as long as they follow these rules. And the parent, since it's your device, gets to look at it anytime and also has monitoring on it. And it's all for their safety. It's not to spy on them.
Right.
Also, open conversations, right? So you can't catch everything. Unfortunately, most kids have iPhones and you can't monitor everything. You can't even monitor everything on social media with a Bark phone because Snapchat, for example, and some of these platforms won't let you really deep into the platform. So there are limitations around what you can even get. So they need to trust you enough to come to you if
That's
something
exactly right.
weird happens.
That, you need to come to me. Some people don't believe in the contracts. I do. I think it's a great life skill. It's a contract for owning pretty much anything in life. You sign a contract and you have your child write it with you.
Yeah, people use the car analogy a lot. That you have to take all this training and take a test and pay for insurance. And then you can use this deadly piece of equipment. It's literally just as deadly, if not more, the phone. And yet we're just giving it to them like it's a present without any training.
Nope, none.
Yeah.
Speaking of training, I would love, it's actually very difficult to get into schools. And that's what the Surgeon General had said. We need this in the curriculum. I would love to write curriculum for any grade level to talk about this. I've done it. I haven't written the curriculum, but I've talked to the kids. Screen Strong has a phenomenal book.
It feels like a losing battle. I'm connected with the Organization for Social Media Safety, and they do great school presentations. And they offered to do it for my school for free, my kids' school, and my kids' school said no. They have their own training, which I went to, and 9 parents of probably 1,000 showed up.
See?
And it was horrible. It was wrong. The information they were providing, talked for 20 minutes about how great ChatGPT is now. They're going to start using AI in their lessons plans.
Oh no.
We're looking at other schools.
Oh, no.
It's really bad. So, Ronna, what do you feel like the biggest pushback is when it comes to the phone-free schools? Why are schools struggling to actually make that happen?
I think the biggest struggle are the parents, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And parents that say, I have a right to get a hold of my child. This is their phone. I want to be able to get a hold of them if there's an emergency. And what happens, and this is scientifically proved too, if kids are running out of a building and God forbid something happens, then they're looking down at their phone. They're actually slowing down everybody else coming out.
I just had the same conversation with a teacher previously, so I'll go fast with it. But so in a school shooting situation, that's what a lot of parents are worried about. And in that situation, I've learned you have to be down low wherever in the classroom, whether it's under the desks or something, dark. And so you're talking about a school shooter coming into the classroom, into a dark classroom, and then seeing a light go off or hearing some dings. Where do you think that shooter's going to shoot to?
Absolutely.
So in my opinion, having a phone with them makes them more unsafe in these situations.
Yes. I mean, you look at the data and you see the phone-free schools, kids are talking to each other. There's eye contact. Right now, you walk into a school and they're waiting for the bell to ring. They're all sitting there on their devices.
Yeah.
They're not,
What would you say to parents about the phones if you could have a room full of parents?
For the phones, I would do the contract. I would watch everything they're doing. Nikki, if I'm giving you a phone, then you need to give it to me any and every time I ask for it and I need your password. Parents that say, well, they won't give it to me, then turn off the Wi-Fi. Parents need to parent. And I'm not saying they're not, but they're like, oh, they're going to be mad at me. You know what? I would rather my child be mad at me than spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on therapy, which is almost impossible to get into, and ruining their childhood. No kid's going to come up to you and say, Nikki, I'm your mom now. You're not going to come up to me and say, Ronna, Mom, I am so happy you gave me a phone. I am so happy that I wasted my childhood scrolling. If you look at all the hours the kids are scrolling and what they could be doing, but they don't want to because it's in their brains like this is much more fun.
We just need to step up and protect them and do our job. And it's very serious and we have to do it. We can't ignore it anymore. What resources do you recommend for parents when you do talks? Are there things they should read? What do you recommend?
First one is Glow Kids. Second one is Screen Strong. Third one on Facebook, follow Officer Gomez, Gomez. He's a school resource officer and he's got things every single day.
Okay.
And great. I can be contacted at socialmediasafety.education, and you do have to write out education.
Okay. Ronna, thank you so much. And I'm just so appreciative of the education you're providing to schools and parents.
I'm trying.
Yeah. No, we need to hear from teachers like you. And I know it can be hard, but we got to bring parents and teachers together and get everybody on the same page. Yeah.
Make it mandatory. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And I'll be in touch really soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.